Good morning. Welcome to Daily Focus. We're glad that you have joined us again this morning in our study of Proverbs. And the book of Proverbs, as we looked at yesterday, is really a book of continuous principles that come back to the same premise. And that is that the path of prosperity is the path of wisdom. The path to spiritual success is the path of wisdom. The path of even financial success is using the principles of wisdom. And so we could go on and on and on, but it just comes back to that premise. And then there's lots of warnings, and it just simply says, don't get off the path. Don't take one step off of the path. Stay right on the path of wisdom. That reflects the very character and person of Jesus Christ, who we are to emulate. And though we live with a deceitful heart and a weak flesh that just is attracted to so many things out of bounds and is distracted so easily by things that it should not pursue, that many times the battle rages throughout the day. So I'm glad you've joined me this morning and each morning to just get some fuel to life and to be able to get some nuggets that we can apply and be successful each day. And so I appreciate you joining me for these few moments to just be able to together grow in grace and in our knowledge of what God has planned for us and who He is and how we can serve Him better together. So we have gotten all the way to chapter 10. So Proverbs chapter 10, we're going to read the first 7 verses. The Proverbs of Solomon. A wise son maketh a glad father, but a foolish son is the heaviness of his mother. Treasures of wickedness profit nothing, but righteousness delivereth from death. The Lord will not suffer the soul of the righteous to famish, but He casteth away the substance of the wicked. He becometh poor that dealeth with a slack hand, but the hand of the diligent maketh rich. He that gathereth in the summer is a wise son, and he that sleepeth in harvest is a son that causeth shame. Blessings are upon the head of the just, but violence covereth the mouth of the wicked. The memory of the just is blessed, but the name of the wicked shall rot. Let me ask you, what kind of reputation do you have? When your name comes up at work, when your name comes up in the family, when your name comes up in the community, what is your reputation? Some people would say, well, I don't know that I even matter. I don't know that people really think about it or whatever. That's actually not a good thing. You should have a reputation that is proactively glorifying God, proactively pointing people to Christ. There should be something about your life that stands in contrast to the world. It is actually a negative thing for us to blend into the world and not even be noticed. I'm not saying that you've got to be obnoxious and you've got to be flamboyant to try to get the attention of people, but I do believe that as born-again believers, whenever you have darkness, no matter what degree of light, it shows up. And it is contrasted with the darkness. And I believe Christians for too long have blended into the world, and we're not making an impact. We're not showing a contrast. And God deals with that a little bit in this 7 verses. But He does it in the context of the fact that we ought to strive to bring honor to our parents. We ought to strive to bring honor to the name that they have given to us, so that when people think of the Berlin name, they have a reputation that glorifies the Lord. They have a reputation that stands in contrast to the world. And that's true of your name as well. And so it starts right out with talking about a diligent son bringeth honor to the family name, but a lazy son is a shame, brings shame to the family name. It talks a little bit about conduct, but It's interesting that it has a verse that is very applicable to us today, and that's in verse number 6, where it says, "Blessings are upon the head of the just, but violence covereth the mouth of the wicked." This is a little bit difficult verse to understand. It's probably referring back to the old custom of a malefactor who was dying for his conduct would have a veil put over his entire face. And so here is the picture of someone who is having something put over their face. It's coming back to the context of your reputation and the fact that you have a shameful reputation. You have done something, or you live in such a way that brings shame. And it references one thing that'll do that, and it's violence. Well, we're living in a day right now where there is a bunch of nonsense going on in the world on a lot of different fronts. It started in our political realm as we were dealing with the hijacking of the coronavirus for political posturing, and that was confusing and difficult, and still is difficult to navigate through, but rooted in selfish agenda. And then we saw a police officer with a selfish agenda and a personal vendetta of some sort or bias, and he was just wrong. And then we had these demonstrators. And by the way, being able to protest, being able to demonstrate disapproval is an American freedom, and we thank God for that freedom. But that demonstration has to be rooted in righteousness. And if it goes to violence, then there's a selfish agenda. There's a selfish purpose that's unattached to the issue, but simply hijacking the issue in order to further your selfish agenda. We saw it with the coronavirus in politics, and now we're seeing it in society with this situation in Minneapolis. And what God says is you can act that way, but I'm going to tell you, you're going to bring shame to your family. You're going to bring shame to the cause of Christ. You're going to bring shame to a national, our nation's reputation. This is just foolishness. And God warned us, you know what? Stay on the path of wisdom. I'll bless that. You'll never want. You'll never be in famish if you'll just stay on the path of righteousness, if you'll just do what's right. Bob Jones Sr. used to say, do right until the stars fall. And boy, what great advice that is that we would just decide, you know what? We're going to find what God says is right. We're going to find what God says is wise. And we're just going to do it that way. And God says, you know, if you'll do that, I'll bless it. And you will find that it is a good path. It is a comfortable path. It is a prosperous path. But if you get off that path and you start going down the path of a selfish agenda, it's going to hurt on a lot of fronts. It's going to hurt your family name. It's going to hurt your church name. It's going to hurt your country's name. It's going to hurt God's name. Your reputation is going to rot. And that's what God says. So today, you know what? Let's just choose God's path and let's do it God's way. I trust that you'll have a great day today. God bless you. I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning at 9.